It's Tuesday again, time for a Tuesday treasure. This one's called Barnstable to Boston. You've probably know what I'm talking about, but just in case, I got a little map pulled up here from Google. Hope you can see that. It says you could ride a bicycle from Barnstable to Boston in 7 hours. I was thinking that might be sort of similar to the old days of a stagecoach making the run. But what about taking a packet straight from Dennis or Barnstable Harbor and taking a packet up to Boston? That'd be another way to go, right? So now that we have a little picture of what we're talking about, what about the story itself that I wrote back in the summer of '03? Land, sea, or air? That is the question. I've made the trip from Barnstable to Boston 100 times, but just started musing about the details of that trip when pressed for some ruminations. Probably the most exciting version of the trip was being weighed in at the municipal airport by Cape Air. As you know, small planes are very sensitive about weight distribution, and being the largest passenger aboard, I became the co pilot by default. Of course, this was with strict instructions from the real pilot at my left not to touch anything. The route probably simulated that of one of the old time packet boats, and the view at low altitude up the coast over Barnstable Harbor and Plymouth Harbor to Boston Harbor and the airport was breathtaking. Total elapsed time 35 minutes. Fare $70 one way. Compare this with the 50-cent packet boat fare of the 1850s. An Oregon State University study of inflation since 1665 says that 50 cents in 1850 is worth $11.36 now. Well, anyone who's ever driven the 32-mile route over the old Plymouth Road 3A and the old Kings Highway 6A from the center of Plymouth to Barnstable Village can get a little picture of what the overland route must have been like in the early days. This would also help us to understand why it took the Plymouth colonists so long to venture that 30 miles to settle new territory. When I would bring visitors to the Cape from the Boston airport, I always got off on Highway 3 in Plymouth to take the long way home. On many days, it certainly must have been easier to sail a shallop or packet due southeast from Plymouth Harbor to Barnstable Harbor. With a nice strong southwest wind, you could make 8 or 10 knots and do the trip in 3 or 4 hours. The history of Barnstable County records packet routes from most of the North Cape towns to Boston. One regular Wellfleet run to Boston was declared to take anywhere from 6 hours to 2 days and cost 75 cents. Of course, real packet boat service did not start until the later 1700s. What drew people to the Cape? I read in Michener's Caribbean that one of the draws that brought people to New England and the colonies was the thought of staying warm in the winter. In old England, there was never enough affordable wood or coal to heat a home to a comfortable degree. The abundance of wood available for burning and manufacturing was a godsend to pilgrims like no other. We do so take for granted our thermostats and being warm on all sides at the same time. Pictures of Cape Cod not long past show that it was practically treeless in the early 1900s. Settlers had cut and burned or whittled every tree in sight. The wood allowed our ancestors to build houses, ships, bridges, factories, barrels, wagons, and many other machines. I guess the advent of cheap coal and oil was what finally brought back the Cape forests to the point when you fly over today, it's difficult to see the ground or houses. Well, back to the trip. Just for comparison, in 1775, a mail route was established from Cambridge through Plymouth and Sandwich to Falmouth. You'll notice the current railroad lines follow a similar route. The post rider left Cambridge at Monday noon, and after overnight stops, made it to Plymouth Wednesday at 9 a.m. Sandwich came in sight at 2 p.m. After a 2-hour break, the rider got to Falmouth and during another 5-hour ride. His return trip left Falmouth Thursday at noon, Sandwich by 5, then a 6-hour ride Friday morning from Sandwich to Plymouth. Leaving Plymouth late Friday afternoon and spending the night along the way, he finally finished the round trip to Cambridge Saturday evening. Do you suppose he was exhausted after that long 6-day journey? Give me a schooner ride any day. By the 1790s, a post rider could make it from Barnstable to Plymouth in a long day's ride and to Boston after another long day. The total volume of mail would fit in one saddlebag with a package or newspaper in the other saddlebag. The stagecoaches to Sandwich also started about 1790, so you can see the roads had improved quite a bit by then. It was still a 2-day ride by coach. As you can imagine, there were a lot of stops. By 1820, Barnstable had mail from Boston 3 times a week, either by packet or stage. Steamers and railroads burned lots more wood, but made the trips much more quickly and reliably. The railroads started showing up in 1864. Of course, any mode of travel these days from Boston to Barnstable is still by coach. The Plymouth and Brockton Street Railway Company can take me on the same route in 1 hour and 25 minutes. The fare on that coach is a mere $14, so we're just paying just about the same 50 cents that the packet rider did back in 1850. Coincidence? Nope. The more we change, the more we stay the same. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that one.